Donald Trump blessed it as well.
So let me ask you about a provision that the Republicans are talking about quite a bit. I know you want to talk about, and Democrats want to talk about, extending the Obamacare subsidies, which expire at the end of 2025. But they talk about the provisions, and it's right here, subtitle E, and this has to do with the repeal of healthcare subtitle changes, and specifically what it is. How they characterize it is, you want to give health insurance to undocumented immigrants. I understand that's not really an accurate depiction, but what it does do is...
It's a lie.
It's a lie, but what you support does bring back funding for emergency Medicaid to hospitals, some of which does pay for undocumented immigrants and people who don't have health insurance. And also there is this provision, and it's not about undocumented immigrants, it's about people with asylum seekers and people with temporary protected status, et cetera, but about their ability to get Medicaid. So they're non-citizens, they're not undocumented, they're not illegal. Why even include that in a bill knowing that they're going to seize right upon that and use that to message? I understand that.
And under current law, undocumented immigrants are already ineligible for Medicaid, the ACA exchanges, and for SNAP benefits. Not a single undocumented immigrant in this country gets a dime in federal taxpayer dollars for any part of comprehensive Medicaid coverage. Not one. And so when we're talking about nearly 14 million people who are going to be thrown off their health insurance, millions of others who are going to be jammed up by this aggressive cut to SNAP, the largest cut to food assistance in American history, we're talking about American children. We're talking about everyday Americans. We're talking about Americans with disabilities. And when it comes to nutritional assistance, we're talking about veterans who have served this country, sacrificed, risked it all, and they're going to lose access to the food assistance they need to live a life of dignity and respect. Those are the facts. That's why we're fighting hard to stop this GOP tax scam that will hurt everyday Americans dead in its tracks.
They lie with such ease, is what we would say. And what they would say is, well, they're not lying. They're just leaving out key and important pieces of information and rewording or rephrasing the things that they are doing.
It's just hard to believe y'all, Jamie, now, simply because we know what y'all watched the last 4 years. Even when I see somebody like Corinne Jean-Pierre come out with her book, and I'm like, you sat up there and lied for him all of this time, and now you want to be honest and say you an independent, and it's the same. All of y'all did that for the last 4 years.
Charlamagne, I ain't lie about a damn thing.
Well, you ain't tell the truth.
Well, what?
You just kept quiet.
Okay.
Don't let him talk to you like that, Jamie.
No, come on, man.
And then trying to double down on making it seem like President Trump is the evil and deranged person in this scenario.
The president is unhinged. He is unwell. What are you doing?
A lot of folks on your side are too. I don't control.
Oh my God, please. That performance in front of the generals,
I didn't see it.
is so dangerous. You know I serve on foreign affairs and appropriations. This is a collision of those two things. Our allies are looking elsewhere. Our enemies are laughing.
I just left
you
the
have a
speaker's
president
side.
who is, you have a president who is unwell.
Ironically, Hakeem Jeffries sits here and talks about the children this, the children that. And these are the same woke mind virus infected Democrats, lefties losing it, who want little boys and little girls to transition at school without their parents' knowledge.
A preschool lesson on gender identity causing a divide among parents and educators at this city-funded New York Kids Club in Manhattan.
Most of the parents were in shock, and they were like clueless of the decision that the school made.
Vivian Cellini's son was 3 years old when a substitute teacher recently read, "It feels good to be yourself," to the class of 16. Some of the kids came home with questions, and parents started to debate whether the book exploring gender is age appropriate. An excerpt from it reads, "Not everyone feels like either a boy or a girl."
I believe this is too early for them to understand. They barely are having awareness of the body.
In a statement to Pix 11, the New York Kids Club CEO said, "We are deeply committed to fostering an environment where children can grow, learn, and explore in a manner that is both age-appropriate and respectful of diverse perspectives, and that they're working to ensure that materials utilized align with the developmental needs of our students." In a separate email to parents, administration stressed the importance of teaching inclusion to its 3- and 4-year-olds, while writing, quote, "We all agree that we would rather this have been communicated to our families beforehand and will take place in the future."
The message of the book is that it's okay to be whatever gender one would like to be.
Elena Daniels helped start Transformative Schools, an afternoon program for trans, queer, and non-binary students starting at age 9.
Kids learning about diverse identities helps everyone to learn and helps everyone to feel safe.
She says it's good for kids to have questions and explore who they are from a young age.
These are conversations that kids should be having, that adults should be having, and that it's important for them to be learning.
This Upper West Side mom says she believes in acceptance and inclusion, but also transparency.
We felt like they violated our rights as a parents.
In a statement, a New York City public school spokesperson said it values age-appropriate, diverse, and inclusive education, and that it's working to understand how the material was introduced and whether it adhered to school guidelines.
Hi, my name is Denise Bell. I'm a mom of 4. I've had a child in HISD before. I'm also the chapter chair for Moms for Liberty Harris County, and I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of a parent in HISD. These are her words. My youngest daughter is now a junior at Bel Air High School. Within the last 2 years, we were shocked to learn that the high school was actively socially transitioning our daughter by calling her by a different name and pronouns. On the first day of 9th grade, my daughter's theater teacher sent home an information sheet for us to fill out. The second line of the sheet asked for her pronouns. Multiple teachers started calling her by a different name and pronouns. One teacher even...
My name is Abigail Martinez. It has been 3 years and 164 days since I lost my daughter, Jaylee. I miss her every single day. Let me tell you how she died. My daughter was murdered by a gender ideology. CPS took my daughter when she was 16 years old. It was held by her public school counselor and LGBTQ group rights and another trans-identified girl. My daughter was taken from her loving home because the state of California claimed I was abusive for not affirming her trans identity. I lost my daughter over a name and a pronouns. Even after I promised to call her a male name, it wasn't enough. My daughter was not a boy trapped in a girl's body. She had mental health issues. Against my consent, my daughter was given testosterone instead of therapy. The LGBTQ group used her to raise money for them. Look at the poor reject trans boy, they said. Why are there so many transgender in foster care? Because this state take them from their families, tell them to run, then steal them. Parents are given one option to treat their distressed child, affirm, drug, and remove their healthy body part, or else lose your child. The abuse claim against me was finally dropped, but it was too late. The damage was done. By then, my daughter was in a horrible mental and physical pain. My daughter knelt down in front of a train. She was murdered by gender ideology. I beg you, stop pushing gender ideology. I don't want any parent to feel what I feel every day. Affirmation is not good for the health, safety, and welfare of any child.
Want Netflix to push this woke programming of trans and babysitters club episodes that I've got, an eyewitness over here who says she has never read a babysitters club story like that before.
It took a while, but we finally found a file for a Bailey Del Vecchio. Is 32 Burn Hill Road still the current address? Yeah. Have you been giving him fluids? If he's dehydrated, we'll need to place an IV. Have him change into this. Well...
I hear Solo's not feeling well. Let's take a look at the little man.
Can I please talk to you two outside? I know that you guys are busy, but as you would see, if you looked at her and not her chart, Bailey is not a boy. And by treating her like one, you are completely ignoring who she is. You're making her feel insignificant and humiliated. And that's not going to help her feel good or safe or calm. So, from here on out, please recognize her for who she is. And if at all possible, could you find me a non-blue hospital gown?
I apologize.
Marianne. Dad. Oh, Marianne.
Meanwhile, they'll get outraged if you put hair dye on a puppy. Yeah, there's that. But correct me if I'm wrong here. Hakeem Jeffries sits here and tries to pretend like he gives two shits about veterans. Weren't the Democrats the same ones who took away shelters for veterans to instead give them to migrants? The illegal and undocumented? Doesn't seem like he cares too much about that.
It is always a complex issue to try and count individuals who may be experiencing homelessness either on a sustained period of time or who may be transitional in terms of the homelessness space. We rely on colleagues and other government departments, provincial associations, the actual shelters themselves to try and calculate some of the numbers. I know my colleague Pierre Tessier was here, I think about a month ago, and indicated, our best point in time count that we use through some other organizations is somewhere around the neighborhood of 2,600 homeless veterans. That can ebb and flow, of course, over time, and some exacerbating factors in society may play into the number of housing crisis situations that exist in various areas. So we use that as a bit of a guidepost with respect to the number of homeless veterans or folks who may be in that situation. We recognize, however, that there are different considerations that we need to take into account. And so when we use a point-in-time shelter count as a general basis for understanding the number of people who may be homeless, veterans who may be homeless, we understand that we may be missing individuals. We may be missing individuals who don't congregate in major cities at shelters. They live rough. They live in the country, in the woods, and they don't necessarily count from a homeless shelter point of view. We may miss women who traditionally do not necessarily go to shelters, who may live in a car, who may have a circumstance where they stay at other people's houses on a regular basis, but they do not have a home of their own. And so we're always cognizant of the fact that while we have a number that we have identified from a shelter count point of view, that there may be other circumstances and considerations that we need to take into account when we're building programs and when we're looking at potential solutions for homeless veterans. And so that's part of where we are.
My name is John Featherston. I'm a former migrant shelter director. It was the biggest mistake of my life. The biggest mistake of my life. The physical violence that I took, the mental torture that I took, the rapes that I saw that never got prosecuted, little girls being raped, and I would personally drive them to the police station and the state would just cover them up.
You believe Maura Healey should be prosecuted?
I believe Maura Healey should go to jail for the rest of her life for the crimes that she's committed, yes. She's covered up rapes, she's covered up crimes, she's covered up sex trafficking, she's covered up drug dealing. The story that made national headlines, like I said earlier, is the man who impregnated his teenage daughter. That man still has not been held accountable to this day, and it's been over a year. This gentleman, who I do not know or do not recognize, if he lives in the shelter in Marlboro, what he does is he gets free housing every day. He gets free meals every day. But he's also signed up for EBT card benefits, WIC card benefits, probably got a cell phone and a iPad computer through the Obama phone program. So he basically lives for free. And if he receives EBT card and has a family, probably taking in about $3,800 a month in EBT card benefits. His wife is probably making about another $400 a month in WIC cards, women in crisis cards. The shelter, when I was there, provided free diapers, free formula, which I found that they actually ended up, because they were getting benefits, they were actually selling the diapers and formula on the black market, or selling one or more of their EBT cards on the black market. So essentially, people had all of their bills paid for and were bringing in excess of $50,000 a year. So as you saw yourself, a lot of these residents, they have brand new cars. But when they have a doctor's appointment in Boston, or they have a immigration hearing in New Hampshire, you think they use their own car? Nope. They say, oh, I need an Uber. I need a Lyft. The amount of money that we would spend on Ubers and Lyft was well in excess of $100,000 a month.
Now to the migrant crisis. New York City has turned to using schools to help some people of more than 6,500,000 asylum seekers who have arrived in the area since last spring.
Meanwhile, the town of Newburgh holding a meeting tonight to address migrants New York City has sent there on buses. An outrage after about 20 homeless veterans were forced to leave a hotel to make room for the immigrants.
Eyewitness News reporter Joe Torres is live in the town of Newburgh. Joe, again, 65,000 asylum seekers have been here. What to do now?
Well, Sade, we've been here in the town of Newburgh for most of the day, and still no buses arriving from New York City here at this town of Newburgh hotel right along Route 300 here in Orange County. In fact, we talked to a sheriff's deputy about 40 minutes ago, picked his brain as to whether he's received any sort of alerts or advisories regarding the buses. He has said no indication as to if or when those buses will arrive here. But nonetheless, just inside the Ramada, there's a welcome sign for the migrants, and then there are numerous social service workers inside, ready and waiting. Joseph Brooks stood outside the Ramada in the town of Newburgh and worked his cellular flip phone. After a 1-month stay at the Orange County Hotel, the 62-year-old retired food service worker suddenly needs a new place to sleep. He tried to rebook today, but workers told him there are no vacancies until December because asylum seekers from New York City are soon to arrive. What's next?
I gotta find me another hotel. I will go try to get back here, but it's not happening.
Not far away at the Crossroads Hotel, some of the newly arrived migrants soaked up the midday sun, scrutinized their paperwork, and wondered where their journey would take them next. A lawsuit filed by Orange County leaders says to make room for the busloads of asylum seekers, hotel management canceled some reservations and evicted guests, including some military veterans. Ridiculous, says Vietnam veteran Ronnie Yembras, who showed up to check on his brothers.
Could you imagine waking up in the morning for your coffee and you say, hey, we got to get out? And maybe the guy just found the room. Maybe he's been looking for a while. I just don't get it.
Back in the five boroughs, a public school gymnasium at PS 188 in Coney Island will now serve as a temporary emergency shelter for asylum seekers, joining the previously announced shelter plans at a former school on Staten Island. Preparations are now underway at 2 more schools as well. The detached gym in Coney Island will house about 75 migrants. They will not have access to the school, but that does little to ease the worries of anxious parents.
You mean as far as living?
Well, just for now.
And how temporary is this?
They don't really know. Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't think this is a good idea because it's inside of a school.
I asked the counties, to be helpful to us in identifying any sites. I mean, doesn't mean we're going there, but just let's look at the whole array of options that we have in the state of New York.
Now, Governor Hochul acknowledged the lack of communication between the involved parties here, the state, the county, the city, she says has contributed to what she called the contentiousness surrounding this humanitarian crisis. Also, we should point out, she said she's yet to receive any word from the Biden administration about possibly using federal space like Floyd Bennett Field in Brooklyn as a site, a large-scale site for the asylum seekers. She says that would help.
Yeah, it's because they're banking on the migrants and these illegals for their money laundering schemes and their votes.
The Holiday Inn Chicago Midway, located at 7353 South Cicero Avenue, hit the market for $20.5 million in March of 2024. But here's what they're not telling you up front. This hotel has been operating as an illegal immigrant shelter. Since 2023, Chicago has been leasing hotels like this one to house thousands of illegals. The Holiday Inn near Midway became one of the major shelter sites, just 3 blocks from Ford City Mall and less than 2 miles from the airport. Now, even while it's being used as a shelter, the owners, IHG, with the help of Josh Tamman from Marcus and Millichamp out of Phoenix, Arizona, are trying to sell it. Investors might inherit the migrant crisis, or the property could be flipped back into the regular hotel once the deal ends. So how much is this costing taxpayers? Chicago has spent hundreds of millions on the migrant crisis, over $300 million by early 2024, with hotels alone eating up a major portion of that spending. I'll still say over $2 billion overall. But imagine how much each of these shelters, aka criminal enterprises, are making. And our Democratic elected officials at the city and state level don't care, because drug, human, and sex trafficking are at an all-time high, and it's big business, especially at the expense of the taxpayers. In some cases, the city was paying between $200 and $300 per room per night. Multiply that by hundreds of rooms across the city, and it's no surprise these shelters have turned into a gold mine for hotel owners, while taxpayers foot the bill. Governor Pritzker has sold parts of Illinois to Mexico, and Mayor Johnson is trying to seal his deal with Venezuela for Chicago. I'm going to need Donald Trump to start having Pam Bondi hand out indictments and send Tom Homan here. Chicago is under attack, and the city is bankrupt. It's RICO time.
Speaking of, they lie with such ease, and illegals and their voting. This story here I'm going to show you and share with you is not a surprise at all. It's exactly what I expected. I was just literally waiting on someone else to do the research and put it out there. Ian Roberts, the illegal superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools, making $300,000+ per year, arrested by ICE. Story keeps getting crazier. He had thousands of dollars in cash, a firearm, and a knife on him. He lied about his education. His official bio says he completed programs at Morgan State, but Morgan State tells us no. Quote, Ian Roberts did not receive any degree or certificate from Morgan State University. He went by doctor. He never got a doctorate degree, though. He's an illegal, but has a driver's license, is registered to vote, and a voting record. He refused to answer where he was born, his country of origin, and he used multiple birthdays in multiple states.
Just what is going on with the Des Moines public school system? For starters, the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division is looking into alleged race-based discrimination in hiring for Des Moines public schools, which it says violates federal law. But really, that news is just the cherry on top. The district of 30,000 students is already swept up in uncertainty surrounding its now former school superintendent. Ian Roberts stepped down earlier today after he was arrested by ICE on Friday. Roberts is a native of Guyana and a former Olympic athlete who has served Des Moines Public Schools since 2023. A noon deadline came and went for Roberts to confirm his citizenship to the school board. The story is fast becoming a legal nightmare for Roberts and a PR nightmare for the people who hired him. News Nation's investigative correspondent Rich McHugh has been digging into Roberts' record and found that some things are not adding up.
Hi. How are you? It's unusual for ICE agents to arrest Midwestern school superintendents, and it's even more unusual for those superintendents to be found in possession of a loaded handgun, a fixed-blade hunting knife, and thousands of dollars in cash. But the case of Ian Roberts is anything but usual.
It's complex, it's difficult, and there are a lot of what I would call a myriad of issues that are involved.
When the news broke that ICE arrested Roberts, initially, Des Moines School Board Chair Jackie Norris called for radical empathy.
Are you still calling for radical empathy, and is the board taking any responsibility for his hiring?
There was nothing in the information that was given to us to allude to any question about his citizenship.
One question raises another, and straight answers are in short supply. Where was Roberts born? When a reporter asked him last year, he dodged the question.
Where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Sure. Yeah, so both parents are from Guyana, South America. So I spent most of my formative years between Guyana and Brooklyn, New York.
ICE says he entered the U.S. on a student visa in 1999 and received a removal order in May 2024. Athletic competition records cite his birth date as December 18, 1973. But court records and his 2017 marriage certificate list December 18, 1970 as his birth date. His voter registration in Maryland says 1970. Roberts' academic record even more confusing. His LinkedIn, an impressive number of schools. A bachelor from Coppin State University, master's degree, St. John's, Morgan State University. For years, he went by doctor. St. John's confirmed he got a master's but not a doctorate degree. His official bio says he completed programs at Morgan State. But Morgan State tells us no. Quote, Ian Roberts did not receive any degree or certificate from Morgan State University. Roberts left his last position at Mill Creek High Township in Pennsylvania for the job here. In a note, Mill Creek Township says he passed all clearances, including an FBI background check. But in 2020, at the time of his hiring in Mill Creek, the school board there raised questions about his background, according to minutes of their board meetings we obtained. Dr. Roberts lacked the educational certificate from his educational facilities that he obtained his doctorate.
You referred to him as Dr. Roberts. Can you tell us which institution he received his doctorate from?
Yes, it was, I know it, the international school, Trident International, right?
Trident International University, an online university. As many in the community rally around his case in solidarity, some parents with kids in the district have had enough.
Even if you take, was he here legally or not, when he was stopped and then he took off and he fled and then they found a loaded gun, a fixed blade knife, and $3,000 in cash in his car, that enough is, I'm done.
That mom, Jen Cronin, says instead of radical empathy from the school board, she wants to see radical transparency and accountability. Ian Roberts, his attorney, says he's working to have his deportation order stayed and wants to reopen his immigration case. Elizabeth?
Is he still there, Rich? Where is he tonight?
It's unclear. We believe he is in a jail here in Des Moines, but even his attorney alluded to the fact that it's possible he is not.
Okay, and super quick, we mentioned he was an Olympic athlete. Which country did he compete for?
Guyana, South American country of Guyana.
All right, so that would seem to clear up at least when he wouldn't answer where he was born. This is the strangest story, Rich. Keep on it and let us know what you find out. Thanks so much.
They lie with such ease.
That we had appropriated. So what assurances do we have if we entered into an agreement with these Republicans that they wouldn't go back on their word and just say, oh yeah, we'll sign off on a rescissions package. Everything that the Democrats fought for, such as health care assurances around the Affordable Care Act, yeah, we'll make sure that that holds. We don't have any assurances.
We've seen that argument from other Democrats.
There was an OMB memo going around suggesting that there might be firings during the shutdown. Do you think that will happen if the shutdown goes for a little bit of time, sir?
Well, there could be firings, and that's their fault. And it could also be other things. I mean, we could cut projects that they wanted, favorite projects, and they'd be permanently cut. So you could say, a lot of people are saying, Trump wanted this, that I wanted this closing, and I didn't want it. But a lot of people are saying it because I'm allowed to cut things that should have never been approved in the first place. And I will probably do that.
And thank you all for the love and support. Without you, none of this would be possible. Every donation, super thanks, sent through YouTube, memberships here and on Patreon keep us going. Hopefully taking this show on the road. here very soon and bringing our voice to you and making an impact for what is to come. Because our fight isn't over, even though we're truly blessed and winning every day that we wake up and touch ground. And it doesn't matter if you're in California, Texas, Iowa, Florida, New York, or Kansas. We're all in this together. And today, I want to talk about something that affects so many of us and our loved ones, Medicare. Folks, the Medicare enrollment period is right around the corner, and I cannot stress enough how critical it is to take action now. Whether you're new to Medicare or already enrolled, these periods, like the annual enrollment period from October 15th to December 7th, are your chance to make sure you're set up for success. Waiting until the last minute or assuming your current plan is good enough can lead to costly mistakes that could haunt you for years, maybe even for the rest of your life on Medicare. And let me share a couple of real world examples to drive this point home. Imagine a retiree. Let's call her Susan from Florida. Susan thought her Medicare plan was fine and she'd be on it for years. Didn't want the hassle of reviewing it. But when she needed emergency surgery, she found out her plan didn't cover the specialist she needed. She was stuck with thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket costs. Now, if she reviewed her options during the enrollment period, she could have switched to a plan that covered her needs and saved her from the financial nightmare that she now faces. Then there's John from Texas, who procrastinated on enrolling in a Part D prescription drug plan because he didn't need meds yet. Yeah. When he was diagnosed with a chronic condition, he faced a lifetime penalty, paying higher premiums every single month because he missed the initial enrollment window. And these aren't just stories, they're warnings. Delays or inaction during Medicare enrollment can lead to overpaying for coverage, gaps in care, or penalties that stick with you for life. And here's the truth. Most seniors are not on the best Medicare plan for their needs. And according to studies, many are either overpaying for the same coverage that they could get elsewhere for less, or they're stuck with plans that leave them exposed in the event of an emergency. Whether it's a hospital stay, a specialist visit, or a new prescription, the wrong plan can cost you thousands of dollars or leave you scrambling when you least expect it. And if you are interested in saving money, specifically on your Medicare, then make sure you give our friends at Chapter a call. And I want you guys to really, really pay attention here, because it's come to my attention that most seniors are not on the best Medicare plan. They're either overpaying for the same coverage they could get elsewhere, or they don't have the coverage they need in an emergency. Chapter can review your options in under 20 minutes. It's fast, it's simple, it's easy, and it's free. If you're already on the best possible plan, they'll tell you they're unbiased and they're purely here to help folks, seniors, save money on healthcare, on average $1,100. And if you're not on the right plan, they'll help you switch, even if it's to a plan that pays them nothing. Again, unbiased, folks. This is unique and unlike any other Medicare provider out there. And this is exactly why we love Chapter so much, because they're literally just trying to help people. Chapter works for you, not big insurance or the government. And there's no pressure, just honest, free advice from professionals who know Medicare inside and out. But here's the good news. You don't have to navigate this alone. You don't have to wait until it's too late. That's where our incredible friends and partners at Chapter come in. They're offering free Medicare help and consultation to make sure you're on the right plan for you. And you can reach them right now at the number that you guys see on the screen. At the number you see on your screen, 270-467-2426. And here's why Chapter is different. They work for you, not big insurance companies or the government. In under 20 minutes, their expert advisors can review your current plan and compare it against thousands of options available in your area. And if you're already on the best possible plan for your needs, then they'll just tell you, no strings attached. But if there's a better option, one that saves you money or gives you better coverage, well, they'll walk you through how to switch, even if it's to a plan that pays them nothing. That's right. Schedule Free consultation. Take control of your Medicare plan, protect your health, and save your hard-earned money, because you deserve peace of mind no matter where you are. Again, let me know. California, Texas, Iowa, Florida, New York, Kansas, or anywhere in between. Let's keep the momentum going here, folks. Share this message, spread the word, and let's make sure everyone we care about is ready for what's ahead. Again, thank you for being part of this community, and let's keep fighting the good fight together.